Hello everyone. After having so much fun in my previous video looking at my greens, I thought I would today swatch out and take a look at all of my earth colours. I found it really interesting to see all the different brands painted out side by side. You can really see which colours stand out from the others. So there's 30 earths here in total. Top row will be all the earth yellows. The middle row will be burnt siennas and earth reds. And then the browns along the bottom. I like pretty much all my earth colours, so I don't expect any nasty surprises here, so let's get started. So first up is Cotman Yellow Ochre. This is PY42, which is the synthetic yellow iron oxide. I do like this paint and have used it quite a lot in the past. My usual complaint about Cotman watercolors is that they dry like a rock in the palette, but now I just add a couple of drops of glycerin and I don't really have that problem anymore. Yeah, I'd really have no problems using this yellow ochre alongside artist grade paints. It's pretty nice. Next is Mijello Mission Gold Yellow Ochre No. 1. This is made from PBR7, PY42 and PY150. Yeah, it's a 3-pigment mix. It's pretty unusual for a yellow ochre, but this is Mijello, of course. I did spend quite a lot of time using this yellow ochre in the past, and I quite liked it actually, but I would prefer a single pigment version, I think. Yeah, this one has a bit too much of a glowing yellow colour for me. Next is Paul Rubens Yellow Ochre. This one is also made from PY42. I don't know what everyone else's view on Paul Rubens watercolours is, but I really do like them. I got the set of 12 tubes about 18 months ago, but I quickly moved on to other brands. But now, whenever I try them, I really do like them. Yeah, this is a great yellow ochre, I think. Now moving on to the yellow ochre I use the most. This is Rembrandt Yellow Ochre. It's made from PY43 and PY42. I'm not totally sure why they decided to use both pigments in there. It's a pretty nice yellow ochre. I wouldn't say it's anything particularly special, but it does the job for me. Now it's time for my Schmincke Horadam Yellow Ochre. This is PY42. This is a pretty new paint to me. It came as part of a pan set. It looks pretty good though. I mean, the pan re-wets really easily, and Schmincke Horadam paints are always really nice to paint with. Yeah, looks pretty good. Right, now onto the final yellow ochre. This one is Van Gogh Yellow Ochre. And it's made from PY42 as well. This is another paint I've used quite a lot of. I think I've probably been through 3 or 4 tubes of this, so I must have liked it. Though maybe that was just because it's cheap. As you can see, there are very slight differences between all the yellow ochres, but honestly, I think I'd be happy with any of them. They all do the job just fine. So now we're going to move on to the raw siennas. First we have Holbein Raw Sienna. This is PBR7 and PY42. Usually I'd like my Raw Sienna to just be a PBR7 rather than a two pigment mix, but I do like this colour a lot. It doesn't granulate really, but it's definitely a nice colour. Okay, so next we have a single pigment version. This one is Lukas Raw Sienna, and it's made from PBR7. As you can see, this Raw Sienna looks very different from the Holbein version. It's a lot browner. I do like it quite a lot. It kind of reminds me of the discontinued Rembrandt Raw Umber that I'll be swatching out in a minute. Yeah, it does look really dark when painted out next to all the other yellows. Okay, now moving on to the Rembrandt Raw Sienna. This is made from PY43, which is the natural yellow iron oxide. It's unusual to see a raw sienna made from this pigment, I think, but yeah, it's a very nice colour and it granulates pretty nicely as well. It does feel a bit weak to me though. I feel like I need to get a lot of paint on the brush compared to the other earth yellows. It's also very transparent, which is quite nice. Now we have my final earth yellow, which is the discontinued Rembrandt Raw Umber, which is made from PBR7. As you can see, this is a pretty yellow version of Raw Umber. Other brands are usually a bit browner, but I do like this and I use it quite a lot. I was pretty disappointed that it was discontinued, but oh well. Okay, that's the end of the earth yellows. Now we're going to move on to the burnt siennas and the earth reds. So first up is Holbein Burnt Sienna. This is PBR7. I think I've said in the past that this is probably my favourite burnt sienna. It has a lovely glow to it. There's no real granulation though. Next is Mijello Mission Gold Burnt Sienna. This is made from PBR25, PR112 and PY150. This is another 3-pigment mix from Mijello for this earth colour, and there's no PBR7 in it. It's a beautiful colour, but it definitely wouldn't be my first choice for a burnt sienna. Next we have another burnt sienna from Mijello. This is Mission Gold Dark Burnt Sienna. So this is their single pigment PBR7 version. I do like this colour, but I would never recommend it to anyone because if you put it in a palette, it sets like an absolute rock, and it's so difficult to re-wet. And even if you do manage to get it to re-wet, it comes out pretty gritty. So I'd only ever use it straight from the tube now. Next is Rembrandt Burnt Sienna, and this one is PBR7. So this is my most used burnt sienna, not for any particular reason. It's just a decent burnt sienna and it does what I need it to. It's actually quite an orange version really, but I do still like it, yeah. Now onto the Schmincke Horadam Burnt Sienna. This is a mixture of PR101 and PBK9, which is ivory black. PR101 is used by a few brands for their burnt sienna, but I was quite surprised to see that Schmincke including black in the mix. But it is actually quite a nice burnt sienna. Yeah, I was quite surprised. Now the final burnt sienna I have is by Van Gogh. This one is also a PR101, and this time the black is PBK11, which is oxide black. Yeah, it's another burnt sienna made from PR101 and black, just like the Schmincke. But this is a student grade paint, so it's not quite as big a surprise. Yeah, I do like this burnt sienna, but it is the old version, I think. I think now Van Gogh make a single pigment, PR101. Okay, that's all the burnt siennas I have. I like them all, but I don't think I'd buy either of the Mijellos again. So now onto the earth reds, starting with Cotman Light Red. This is made from PR101. So it's a student grade watercolor, but to be honest, I can't really tell much of a difference between this and artist grade. I quite like most of the Cotman earth colors I've tried, actually. Next is the Rembrandt Light Oxide Red. This is also PR101. So this is one of my most used paints, but sadly it's been discontinued. No idea why Rembrandt decided to do that. I'm sure they have their reasons. Yeah, it's okay though. I'll just replace it with either the Cotman or Holbein version. We'll see. Next is Cotman Indian Red. This is another PR101. Again, it's a perfectly good earth red. I don't think I'd have any problems including it in my palette. I think I slightly prefer the Rembrandt version I have, but yeah, this one would be totally fine. And now the Rembrandt Indian Red. This is a mix of PR101, but also with some PR264 added. This is my favourite red and I use it in pretty much every painting. I always thought I'd prefer a single pigment version, but something about this colour I just love. Next is the last of my earth reds, and it's Mijello Mission Gold Red Brown, which is PBR25. Yeah, this is a really wonderful earth red colour. I use it in my travel palette, and yeah, I use it a lot. I kind of use it like a burnt sienna and a light red. It kind of fills in for both. Okay, so that's all my earth reds. And now onto the browns. So first is Cotman Burnt Umber. This is a mix of PBR7 and PY42. And it's another decent earth colour from Cotman. I just add a drop or two of glycerin to the pan and it doesn't set so hard. Next, I have 4 PBR7s, so I can go through them a bit quicker. We got Rembrandt Burnt Umber. It's actually a very nice, intense burnt umber. I'm quite impressed with this one. And then we have Schmincke Horadam Burnt Umber. And then we've got Paul Rubens Burned Brown. And my final brown PBR7 is Mijello Mission Gold Van Dyke Brown. I like this one a lot. It's a very nice chocolatey brown. Next is another paint from Mijello. This one is the student silver class version of Van Dyke Brown. This is a mix of PBR7, PO13, PBK7 and PY17. So 4 pigment mix is strange for this earth colour. I wonder why Mijello decided to make a mix of 4 pigments. I'd have thought it would be cheaper to just use a PBR7 like the Mission Gold version. Yeah, I don't know. And now we're moving on to the sepias. And the first one is the Cotman sepia. This is PBR7 and PBK7. Sepia is not really a colour I use in my paintings. I tend to just keep it for value studies and things like that. Next is Mijello Mission Gold Sepia. This one is also PBR7 and PBK7. But as you can see, it's a lot darker than the Cotman version. And finally, we have Schmincke Horadam Sepia Brown. This is made of PB15-1, PBR7 and PBK9. This one's also pretty dark. I guess it's somewhere in between the Cotman and Mijello. I think I prefer this one out of the 3 sepias. Okay, so that's all my earths painted out, and here they are in daylight when completely dry. I'm pretty happy with all these earth colours really. Even the weird multi-pigmented Mijello mixtures are pretty nice. I think if I had to pick favourites, I'd probably go with the Holbein Raw and Burnt Sienna, the Rembrandt Light Oxide Red and Indian Red, the Mijello Red Brown, and probably the Rembrandt Burnt Umber. What about you? Do you have any favourites of these ones here, or what are your favourite earth pigments from other brands? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye bye.